locally on this computer.
Got it.
Okay, very good. So officially, everybody, welcome. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Tonight's going to be a great program with a local expert on eBird. So we're very happy to have Marie Chappell with us, and I will introduce Marie here in just a few minutes. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carol Bailey White, and I'm the president of Duval Audubon Society. Just a few housekeeping things at the beginning that you all have been, I'm sure, looking at this entire time. We do ask that you please go ahead and mute yourself so that any background noise doesn't disturb the other listeners, the other attendees in the presentation. If you do have any questions for the speaker, then you just go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we'll have a little question and answer afterwards. Does everyone know where the chat is? It should be at the bottom of your screen. There should be a button that says chat, and then you can just pop up that chat window and just drop your questions in there. All right, I think that's it. Let me move on to the next screen. Yep, thank you, Marie. Chat there. Okay, a little bit about our chapter. We are a chapter of the National Audubon Society, and we're a member of Audubon, Florida. We have about 1,200 members in Clay, Duval, and Nassau counties in Northeast Florida. And we're an all volunteer nonprofit organization. Our mission is to connect people with nature. So everything we do is about that. And I don't know if you noticed, by the way, there are some highlighted birds on here that we might be seeing in our area this time of year potentially. So this one's a hermit thrush. Everyone is welcome to every one of our activities. And speaking of our activities, let me move on to our upcoming events. So next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, we're going to have our volunteer workday, nature walk and volunteer workday at our Crosby Sanctuary in Orange Park. If you're not familiar with where that is, it's off of Blanding Boulevard. And please do note that everything that's marked with an asterisk, we do ask you to sign up on our meetup site, and that link is at the bottom of the screen there, just so that we kind of have an idea of how many people to expect. Sunday, that says Saturday, November 21st. I apologize, I just realized that's a typo on there. That should be Sunday, November 21st. We are going to have our rescheduled field trip at Egan's Creek Greenway in Fernandina Beach. That was originally scheduled for November 6th, but if you don't remember, that was the day of the nor'easter that we had so much incredible rain and the weather was miserable. And luckily the leader, Bill George, who is the president actually of the Amelia Island Bird Club, who's going to be our leader, he was available to do it on the rescheduled date of November 21st. So, so that should be a good trip. Let's see, Saturday, November 27th is our next Crosby Sanctuary open house. And you'll note that that does not have an asterisk. That is kind of an open day, basically. You can just come to our Crosby Sanctuary anytime from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. and just explore on your own. It's a lovely place this time of year. It's so much more pleasant to be there when it's very hot. It can get really buggy, but this time of year, it should be really nice. On Saturday, December 4th, we're going to have a field trip at Little Talbot Island State Park. And on Sunday, December 5th, a field trip at Spoonbill Pond, which should be a good time of year to see some interesting birds out there. And on Saturday, December 11th, we're going to have a field trip at Tay Brown Regional Park, which is over on the west side near the Jacksonville Equestrian Center. And on Monday, December 20th at 6:30 p.m., we're going to have our next monthly program meeting. Actually, it is going to be our first in-person meeting in well over a year. I know, it's incredible. Whew. And the title of the presentation is going to be "It's Never Too Late to Start Birding," and it'll be presented by our very own Helen Kurt, who is a super photographer, and she is on our board of directors. And we'll be having that at the Garden Club of Jacksonville in the club room, which is just off to the side. It's a very nice little facility. And we do ask that you register on our meetup site for that as well, just again, so that we know approximately how many people to expect. And this photo is a palm warbler. All right. And so now I'm going to introduce our wonderful speaker, Marie Chappell, who's also on our board of directors. Marie, I've just made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen when you get to that point. So here's Marie's introduction. Marie Chappell is a recent graduate from Cornell University, where she studied environment and sustainability with a focus on environmental biology and applied ecology. She has been a birder since she was 13. And over the years, she's been privileged to partake in opportunities like surveying the breeding bird populations of a naval submarine base, assisting in a captive breeding program of the endangered Florida Grasshopper Sparrow, recording bird sounds in both Australia and China for the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and researching the vocal differences of eastern and western yellow-breasted chats. She currently works with the Merlin team at the Macaulay Library, where she trains Merlin Sound ID and serves as a public interface to help with any Merlin-related questions. So if you have any Merlin-related questions, guess who might be helping you? She also volunteers as a regional eBird data reviewer for Duval and Nassau Counties. And in her free time, Marie enjoys playing the harp, traveling with friends, and watching anime. So without further ado, Marie, I'm going to hand it over to you and welcome, and we're looking forward to it. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share so you can start sharing your screen.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be with you all. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. I would have to say, so I'm going to kind of do more like a walkthrough style, not so much a PowerPoint presentation in your face. And then hopefully at the end, we can do some like in-depth question and answers, or if you have any questions about like reviewing, or you even want to know a little bit in a different direction, that's totally fine. I'm very, very okay with that. If we want to do some discussion at the end, I would like this to be a little bit more like chill and informal. And especially if I am being really technical and you need me to slow down, definitely let me know. Like just unmute yourself and be like, what are you talking about? Like, cool it, you know. That's totally okay. So without further ado, let me share my screen. So I hope everyone, oh, no, not that share, the other share. Ah, what is happening? We're having technical difficulties. Hold on, let me try that again. What do you mean? I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. All right, fixed. Technology, you just go through it. All right. So, welcome to eBird. eBird is something that basically got me started with birding, and I'm very happy to talk with you about it today. So, eBird is global. It's not just in the US. You might have heard about a few friends using it, but it really is all over the world. And you know, you can see that there are some areas where there are more eBirders. For example, the US tends to have more eBirders, but it is also very popular in South America, Europe, India especially, and we're getting to be more popular in Africa. And eBird has been growing quite a lot over the years. As you can see, this is from 2002 when eBird started up until I guess 2020 is when this ended. And it's not quite exponential growth, but it's close. And eBird is free, so we as the Cornell Lab, we really do want to make it something that is available for everyone to use and to enjoy. And birds are free, so therefore eBird should be free too, right? So right now, I'm just gonna stop this and just walk through eBird. And this is sort of a list of things that I'll show you. And hopefully this will be helpful to you. It hopefully won't be like too much of a blast of information, but if it is, then we are, recording the presentation. So without further ado, let us go into eBird, if it will let me go into eBird. Internet, Hello. All right, so here we have the front page of eBird. This will probably look familiar. I have heard of some people sometimes not realizing there is an eBird website. They've just heard of the eBird mobile app, but I assure you there is a website. It's very useful. Check it out. It's where all of the information is presented very nicely, and you can do quite a number of clever things with the website. So up here at the top, you can see various ways of using eBird, and for now, let's go into Explore. So here we have Explore Species on the left and Explore Regions, and I will walk us through. So let's look at, oh, I don't know. How about oops. This is a bird that's on my mind. So here this is the information of the bird, general information, and this is actually the same information that's in Merlin. Merlin and eBird are very closely tied together. Merlin is powered by eBird, and any sightings that you save through Merlin actually go into life list in eBird, and I can talk more about that if you want, but we're just going to focus on eBird for now. So here we have, the photos of the birds, some helpful information. We have sounds, and then we have media down here, and I'll go more into media later as I show you some of the functions that you can do with media, because there's quite a lot. Let's look at the map. So you can look at maps of species. Here we have Macaulay warbler, and it's always fun to look at things like this because, for example, you can see that the warbler sighting that we have just had is the only one in all of Northeast Florida. And this is very slow, but it's okay. We're going to work with it. And if you wanted to know exactly where the bird was found in the West, for example, you could zoom in and see some points. And I'm sure this is kind of familiar to a lot of you, so I'm not going to go super in depth, but you can zoom in. You can see specific hotspots and numbers of birds at those locations. So let's see if it will load some markers for us. They're all blue because these are all older. If they were any newer reports, they would be red. And you can click and you can see specific reports. So I'm not going to go again too much into depth of that, and you can see checklists if you click on the link. So here's a checklist view. All right, let's go back. So that's the map view. And up here at the top, you can scroll through related species. I don't know if you realize this, and it is really very fun because you can see all of these very similar species right next to each other all throughout the world. Or if we wanted to filter it to a certain region, we could do, for example, let's see, the United States. There are no reports of this bird in the United States. And if you make it just a region, then you can see bar charts of that species in the location. So now down here, we have for the US, you can see the species is most common in April and May, sorry, it's after April. So that's basically Explore Species. Just if you're feeling adventurous, you can do Surprise Me and see a surprise species that it picks randomly for you. I love how this is a very useless function, but also very fun. So I do recommend playing around with that. All right, so that's basically Explore Species. And now let's take a look at the other big Explore function, which is Explore Regions. And we can look at Duval. And there is, honestly, when I look at this page, there's a lot going on here that I am sometimes a little bit overwhelmed. But I'm just going to direct your attention over here on the left where it says Overview, and that's what we're seeing now. And then if you click on this, you can get an illustrated checklist. It's thinking. And the illustrated checklist is basically bar charts, which are, again, these sort of visuals of when a bird is most common. So as you can see, black-billed whistling duck in Duval up here, It shows up most frequently in late spring and summer. And over here we have the most highly rated photos that were taken. And maybe you'll see your name up here if you take photos and submit them for Duval. And so that's always really useful, especially if you're planning a trip. And I guess I've advertised, you can change location and date up here. If I've advertised like Indonesia, you want to go to Indonesia, and you're like, what birds are found in Indonesia? You can look it up. And it will think for a while. It's because we're doing a Zoom meeting and trying to use the internet at the same time. And apparently there are cassowaries in Indonesia, which I did not know. And also very weird looking cassowaries. So you learn new things every day. So that's explore regions. Go back to the overview. Another really useful thing. Let's go back to Duval, shall we? He's trying. The internet is trying. Let's go back to Duval. So up here, we can see recent visits, and this is really helpful if you want to know, where people have been seeing things, how many species are being seen. Let's see, what's a good list? There's so many lists, so many good lists. As you can see, a lot of people went to Ready Point. And I'll just click on any of these lists and you can see the list of species. So that's one way to get to lists. You can get to checklists, which is the driving force of eBird, both through this explore species on the maps and through explore regions. All right, so that's explore species, explore regions. We've seen explore maps through the species page. And now let's take a look at search photos and sounds. So this is a little complicated because photos and sounds is technically powered by Macaulay Library. These are all stored in Macaulay Library. But we'll just say this is part of eBird because as you can see, we're looking at it through eBird. It says eBird up here at the top. That's fine. So you can restrict to to location and see just recent photos taken at a location. You can restrict year and months, and this is really, really helpful. For example, if you want to know, let's see, we want to know what magnolia warblers look like in the, in the fall. And here we are. We can see what magnolia warblers look like in the fall. They're not that same pretty spring look. They don't have a mask and everything. And we can, even over here, we can change this to best quality. This is how you do this. If you want to see the nicest photos, they come up to the top. That's a nice photo. You can do just most recently uploaded photos, newest first. So there's a number of ways you can filter this sort. Again, this is a lot of information, so if I'm talking too much, just tell me to slow down. And maybe this is really familiar to some of you or all of you, but if so, it's a nice refresher, and hopefully there'll be something new for you. You can search contributor name, and here's where there's also a lot of fun. I'm gonna remove Duval and make this something that's a little more, what's a good species? We'll do northern cardinal, this one. He's thinking. It's a lot of internet from my computer right now. So if we do northern cardinal, let's say we want to see only pictures of male northern cardinals. You can do that. This is quite a lot. Oops.
Wow.
And now we'll restrict it to only male pictures. You can also do only pictures of females. Oops, you have to actually get rid of male. And hopefully, there we go, only females. Again, this is super helpful if you want to compare, similar species, and see only pictures of the females. You can do flying. Let's see if there are any just females flying. Sometimes people will tag photos wrongly, so you'll get like something that's not quite right. But hey, look at this. We got a couple pictures of females flying. And I bet you if we restrict this, we take away, yeah, now we got more flying cardinals. So, oh, there's so much you can do. What's another good? I wonder if there are any field notes. Sure, okay. So there are a lot of filters that you can do that are quite fun. And if you're looking at audio, let's take this away. You can, we should take this to something that has, let's go back to Magnolia Warbler, that's a good example. If you want to know maybe a certain kind of call, so for example, a lot of warblers will do things called flight calls. You can do this thing called flight call, and there is nothing. Why is there nothing? Flight song, that's because I did flight song. Flight call, there we go. And now you get all of these examples of these little deep notes that you might hear flying over your head on an October evening after the sun has set. You might hear these flying over, and now you can just see flight calls. So there's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do. If I were you, I recommend going here and just messing around and seeing what results you can get to come up. There's a lot in here. You can even search checklist numbers, and if there's some pictures of specimens in here, but I don't really recommend dealing with that. So there's a lot. And yes, so that is Explore Media. And I hope you enjoyed that demo, because Explore Media is really fun. And again, especially if you want to see like what juvenile dowitchers look like in the fall and compare dowitries, you can do that with Explore Media. And it's really, really, really fun and powerful. So we can also explore hotspots. Let's look at Ready Point. I can't spell. So you can search the hotspot name up here. You can also search location, and you can view details. And this is really super helpful. Let me zoom out a little bit for you. This is really helpful because if you're looking in your area and want to see what good birds are in your area, you can be like, oh, I live up here, and what's the hottest hotspots? What are the ones with the darkest color? I'm like, oh, Huguenot. That doesn't surprise me at all. Has the most number of species. So if you just want to go there and see what's up, you'll probably see a good handful of species. So here I've brought up the hotspot view. It looks very similar to Explore Regions. It's the same setup. You've got the same thing with all of the recent lists, top eBirders, and these are last seen species. It updates kind of slowly, so if you were actually the last person to see it and you weren't, and you submitted your checklist within the last couple of hours, your name may not show up here. So this is not, I never found last seen to be super helpful, but first seen is pretty helpful. For example, as you can see, our celebrity bird. And if you just want to know like when the first time a snipe was seen at Ready Point, you can do it this way. So again, a lot of information. So that's Explore Hotspots, and I want to show you, there's so much. Let me show you one or two more things here. This is called bar charts. And you might have noticed I mentioned bar charts earlier when we were looking at a region or a hotspot. You can see bar charts, which are species abundance throughout the year. But sometimes you just have like personal locations that you want to know how common species are, just for your own curiosity. So over here, down here, there's my locations. And I'm gonna do a quick little cheaty thing because I have about 1,000 million locations. I'm just gonna do a quick Command F, which is a search. And I'm gonna search my old yard, which is Matterhorn Road, where I used to live. And you can bring that up. And look at this. This is all my data, so I'm pretty happy about this data. And you can see how common birds are at your own personal location throughout the year. And this is something that this is one of the things that I find so fun about eBird, is that you really feel like you're building something where you can learn more about your own little patch or yard or just area in a really personal and fun way, basically. So this is, for example, if I hadn't used eBird in my yard for so many times, I would not have known that laughing gulls come in February and leave in beginning of September. Like, look at that. That's so much fun. Yeah. So this is something that I always love, is the bar charts of personal locations. And up here, this is the location like code. If you knew this code, you could also look at this, but because it's a personal location, you would have a hard time finding my personal location code. So this is always fun. Look at that, great crested flycatcher. So I'm pretty happy about these bar charts, I'm not gonna lie. So again, choose location with personal locations down here, quite fun. And you can also do it for all of these, more general locations, and this will be from everyone else's data also. Okay, so I suspect I'll do 2 more things on here. I'll do target species because this is pretty fun. Let's try something else. Let's try Miami. Miami-Dade. So let's say you are going down to Miami and you want to know what would be new for Miami. You can do that by doing this target species function, which maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't, and show target species. So this is year round, but let's say I'm going down in November and I want to know what species are most common in November in Miami that I need for Miami. And then it will show these, and you can go to the map. You can see where in your restricted location all of these birds are. It's a lot. But let's say I just want to say I want for my world life list, what do I need for a life? Blue and yellow macaw. Okay, so as you can see, this frequency has gone down quite a lot. But again, I could look in here and see where exactly these species we're seeing. And I've already looked at this, so I already know that it's Miami University. I've already chased those birds and have already not seen them. So that's fun if you're looking, if you're planning for a trip. This target species and the explore hotspots are both super useful. This one is if you really are looking for a specific bird that you want to see, and the hotspot maps are really for like, oh, I just want to see the really cool locations in this area. Tell me where they are. So eBird, super powerful, a lot of things going on. And I will show you one very last thing, I promise, from Explore, which is photo and sound quiz. You may not have known that eBird has a sound quiz or a photo quiz, and I'll just show you very briefly. You can, if you want to test yourself, if you want to get better at birding, this is a great way to do that. Use the quiz, and it will take media from Macaulay Library. You can do both a photo quiz and a sound quiz. He's thinking hard. You can do it. And you can just do this, go through these quizzes, voila, and learn birds for the region. And obviously you can pick different regions and different times of year. And again, that's another really super useful thing. If you're visiting in a region, you don't know, you're kind of unconfident about what birds might be there, you can use the eBird quiz to train yourself, basically. Just do a lot of them. And over time you'll learn, and I can confirm I have used that tool both when I was going to Australia and China. That was kind of how I learned. I mean, I studied the field guides, but I also did so many of these quizzes that were really, really, really useful. So that is explore species. I just sort of walked you down these, and there's more things. You can see the top 100 birders per region. Don't pour your soul into that because it will make you go insane. Just an FYI. And there's a lot going on here. And I'm just going to make a quick mention of eBird Essentials. If you want to learn more, down here at the bottom is again Explore. This is a free self-paced course that walks through all of eBird. So if you want to learn even more in depth than what I'm talking to you about in these 45 minutes, that's how you do it. I recommend eBird Essentials. All right, moving on. So I've walked through explore species, regions, so yep. All right, so I'm gonna show you a little trick that you might not have known. So let's go back up here to the top, and up here on the top right, if I'm signed in, you'll see your name and your username. And if you click on this, and then you click on contacts, it will show all the people that you've shared a checklist with or who have shared a checklist with you. And at the top, it will show what it calls friends. And these are people with whom, if they share a checklist with you, it will automatically enter into your account. So basically, you know, there's emails that you might get sometimes where it's like, so-and-so shared a checklist with you. You'll still get one of those emails, but it will be, they've just copied a checklist into your account. So you don't have to accept the checklist. You can ignore the email. Actually, I think you can turn it off too if you want. And if they're your friend, then you don't have to go in and manually accept all of this checklists. And this is, again, super useful if you're going on a trip, they're going to be doing a bunch of checklists. You don't want to deal with all of that. You can add them as a friend, and then bam, you're good. And that's it. You can move on with that. So I really recommend adding a contact, and you just click the little friend thing. If you click it, it will automatically put them up here with friends, and very useful, very useful. So that's how you do that. And I also want to make a quick note about checklists. Which is, if you're sharing a checklist with somebody else, let me see if I can find an example of a shared checklist. This is actually a good example. If you've got two people on a checklist, after they've shared the checklist with you, and you see your name up here, you see two names. So this checklist with my name on it, when I click on it and my name is larger, I can do anything I want to this checklist, and it will not affect Samantha's checklist. So I really do recommend, realizing when you accept a checklist, now that's just your checklist, you can even change the location, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can change the species, you can delete anything, and it will not affect the other person's checklist. Once you've accepted it, that checklist is now your own, but they are tied together so that you can easily toggle between them. So that's just something important to keep in mind. All right, so we've heard about friends, we've heard about checklist sharing. Let's see, what else? Profile. I'm just going to briefly look over the profile because it is fun to look at. If you want to see what other people are up to, you can, click on areas where they've been, see what places they've been to. But also I want to make mention that if you have a profile up, and especially, for maybe younger people, or I don't know, like anyone really, if you don't want people to see what your recent lists are, you don't want people to know your birding habits, basically, you can go into here, you can go into edit profile, and you can check show my latest list, checklists. So now I can go into here, and voila, now you can't see my latest lists. So if you want to protect, basically your privacy, you can go in there and you can make your recent checklists private. And on that note, again, privacy is a thing, and eBird is kind of a little bit of an open source, especially for other people with an eBird profile. If you want to protect your privacy, you can go into preferences, and you can make yourself anonymous. You can hide your data from recent visits, eBird alerts, top 100, checklist comments. There's a lot of things that you can do to make eBird more safe and private. So that's important. And also just FYI, you can, I have both, okay, good. So yeah, this is important. If you want to read the private policy, here it is up here. Okay, so moving on. What else have we got here? Oh, life list. So the last sort of walkthrough thing I have is life list. Oh, and by the way, if you want to edit like locations or checklists, tripper words, or anything, you can do it from this My eBird tab up here. And here you can edit locations, change location names, change where they are, things like that. That's really, really very useful. You can merge locations. If you have two locations you want to be one, you can do that through here. But I'm going to show you, this is, I'm being a little bit nerdy here. So if you go into checklists, and here's my life list. Let's go into something I've seen a number of times. House wren. So down here we have house wren, my 168th flavor. It's cute. And we can see where that was seen and when. And I can do view all here on the right. Bam. Here is all of the observations of house wrens I've ever made. So if you really want to know all of the times that you've seen house wren, you can do it this way. And if you want to know how many individuals of house wren you've seen, it gives you a number of individuals. And I've noticed that that is something you can't see on phone view. So I recommend doing that on desktop. So I've had 200, wait, I want to just, let's blow our minds a little bit here. Let's look at northern cardinal. So I made 3,320 observations of cardinal of about 12,000 individuals. So this is something if you want to amuse yourself for no reason, and especially if you're kind of more like obsessively using eBird, you can do it this way. So anyway, that's just something fun I wanted to show you. And also if you accidentally, had a bird on your list that you didn't want on your list, then you can also remove it by clicking on the list when that was seen and then removing it from that list. So there we go. That was pretty much my walkthrough of eBird. Let's move on. So that was eBird desktop, and we've got about 30 minutes here. That was the eBird site. And I'm sure many of you know that there's also a eBird mobile app, which is how a lot of people submit eBird lists. So I kind of did a little bit of a walkthrough / demo on my phone, and I'm kind of sad because I thought that it would record sound, but it did not. So can y'all see the this video that I'm showing up here? You can't see it. Yeah?
No.
No, you cannot. Wait, I hope y'all were able to see the eBird page, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll be very concerned. Okay, good.
That's a picture of your phone, right?
Yeah, it is.
Right,
You can
it's
see
just,
it.
right. Yeah, it's showing. It just hadn't started playing yet. I don't
Okay,
think
good.
it looked like
Okay,
a still image.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, so this is me making an eBird checklist, and I'll talk through it. So here I've started a checklist, and here's a species page that's come up, and you can see the list of species. Let's see, and say I want to add species, and as you'll notice, well, you can tap on the plus, and it will add species. But you can also add species by doing a number first. And a lot of people are kind of annoyed about this because they'll be like, I want to type in a species. Why is it giving me a number first when I use eBird mobile? There's a reason for that. So you can write in the number first. And then, what did I do next? Space. And then you write in the species that you want. Will I do it? So do Canada goose. So that this what I just wrote in CHGO, that's what we call a banding code. You can use banding codes in eBird mobile. You can use it when you're searching species in explore species, and it's very convenient. So you can do that, and then you can tap on the species, and then it will automatically automatically add the number that you've just typed. So we had 4 originally. We wrote 5 space the species. We tapped on Canada goose, and then it just automatically added 5 more to the count. So this is sort of a shorthand. You can even do minus a number of species. If you accidentally added something, you can do minus 5, and then you can write it in, and then it will subtract the 5. So that's a fun little shorthand. And then obviously you can go in here, you can edit the species, you can add details, breeding code, and you can also tap on the Merlin, because I'll go back briefly. See the Merlin little symbol in the top right? You can tap on that, and if you have Merlin on your phone, then it will automatically take you to that species page in Merlin, which is very convenient. So I'll go back to eBird, get out of there, and what did I do? So at the bottom, I'll show you again. Get out of here. Close it. At the bottom, there's like a little check mark with, I think, a number of species. I can't see it, with a 1 next to it. If you tap on that, then it will show you just the species you've seen. And I do have to say, this looks a little bit different between iOS and Android. I have iOS, so you might have to play with it a little bit in Android, but it is similar. So I've just did. What did I do? So I just did the same thing. Notice what I did here. I did the number, space, yellow, rumped warbler, that's the banded code, and then I added that just using the shorthand, the number for space, then the banded code. So what I'm trying to do here is, I was annoyed. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to find a species that does not show up when I type in the name. Unfortunately, now McGillivray's warbler does show up, so I have to find a different species. So watch me struggle to find a different species. So I'm typing in Harold for Harold petrel, which does not show up. And I'm like, what do you mean? So you can tap on the click here. So right under here, it says click here to search full taxonomy. When you search in a name that doesn't show up, you can tap on that. And then voila, there's Harold petrel, which I definitely saw in my neighborhood, 100%. Okay. What do I do next? What did I do? I don't remember what I did. So I guess I'm just talking about this page again. Oh yeah, so at the bottom there's like a little plus symbol. That's if you want to add checklist comments. And then I'll also do a sort. I'll go back. I apologize. The little like 3 bars stacked on top of each other. You tap that and you get this smart sort, which is like showing most common species at the top, and then taxonomic sort, which is everything in taxonomic order. So all the ducks will be together, etc. And there's a little show rarities toggle here too. So that's useful depending on how you want to see things. As checklist comments, you can write in some checklist comments that way from the plus in the bottom left, and then you can end the checklist. So now I've stopped the track, and I didn't show the track, but that's basically, actually let me mention that very briefly. The track is where it shows where you walked, and you can edit that. And I wish I had recorded this, but I did not. And I will just mention that eBird recommends when, for example, you're walking down a trail and then you walk back the same way, that you split your miles here on the right, which this was stationary, so there aren't any miles, but if there were, and you did like a loop back on the same path, then you split that in half. Now, not a loop if you do like a circle loop where there was no backtracking, but if you backtracked, then backtrack your miles so that it's half of whatever the track says that it is. It's a little bit complicated. I hope that was clear. So yeah. So let's move on. So this is, let me go back. So let's say I wanted to share this checklist with other people. We already talked about sharing. up here, there's a little person, and if you tap on it, it will add another person to your list, and then you can tap share checklist with, then you can type in the username, and it will remember past usernames you put in. By the way, this 2 minutes checklist is not really something you're supposed to do. Technically, a checklist should be 3 minutes or more, but this was a demo. So now I want to select the location, and this is something that's kind of important. As you can see, it's got multiple locations here. It's got a plus sign here, and I really recommend that, as you can see, it's got some options. I really recommend you name your location so that you remember which locations you used, and try to not make a new location every time you make a new list. And fortunately, the mobile app has just made it clearer to see what a new location is and what like your renamed location is. I think this is a better view than it was before. So hopefully it will be more clear to people when you've just got like a weird name like this 961 Southbrook versus the obvious name that I gave it, Evergreen Club Apartment. So choose your named location. And if there's a hotspot, I recommend choosing that. So here's my personal location that I made. And talking, not sure about what, etc. So here we are with this location. What else did I show? I really wish I had actually recorded the sound that I made. You can go back and edit your list, add things to it after the fact. You can type in the whole name, or you can type in the banding code, like I mentioned before. That's very useful. This is a very, very useful thing to know. Makes it easier for you. And you can just keep adding more and more numbers when you have that little technique there. All right, so that was my video demo, which I hope was helpful. And I think I've just, whoops, this is a review. I apologize. Go back to here. So, so that was the eBird mobile demo. I hope it was helpful. I wish I recorded the track because that would be a useful thing to know, but I can send links later about that if you want. So now, just very briefly, we're almost to the end here. I'll talk about some of the uses of eBird. So like I mentioned before, eBird and Merlin are really closely tied. Merlin is sort of like a little bit like a repackaged eBird explore species. And any sightings you save will be saved into like a private list in eBird. So you can go into the life list and see what things you've submitted through Merlin. And that doesn't actually contribute to public eBird data. So that it's sort of a personal notebook. But whenever you're trying to find what bird you're looking for in Merlin, like you're using the start bird ID, all of that frequency data that it uses to give you the results of what you might expect, all of that is found in eBird. So that's very useful to know that we have pretty handy tools like that that are based off of eBird data. And on top of that, there's lots of science that's based off of eBird data. Like if you go here, I'll take you to the website again. Up here, so we've seen Explorer, My eBird, and Science. Go into here. This is so fun. I don't have enough time to talk about this, but in your own time, take a look at eBird and status trends. I'll just really, really briefly show you this. You can look at abundance animations of a lot of species, and I don't know how many species we have. I think I want to see how many species we have. Ah, it doesn't say. Oh, here we go. Whoa, this is a birds of the world view. Sorry, I just learned something new today. Okay, we'll go back to what I did. There's a lot of species, okay, that you can do this for, and you can view where birds are at different times of the year. So this is how this bird's range changes throughout the year. The darker colors are more common. This is relative abundance, number of individuals during a traveling count. So as you can see, here's the little week of the year thing, all right? In September, and then October, November, they're going down into the Yucatan. January, they're up there, down there still, but then they start coming up. So this is just one of many uses of eBird data, and I'll mention also that eBird data is used for a lot of conservation and other studies. For example, tricolored blackbird, they use banding data, nest monitor data, and eBird to make a population model and see that tricolored blackbird was crashing. Their population was crashing. So that's not a very happy example, but there are many, many examples of this. And honestly, eBird is really an untapped, like not untapped, but a undertapped, I guess you could say, source of incredible information. There's so much, like I mentioned the photos, how you can see photos over, time and space, and how you could see how molt limits change over. There's just so many applications. I can't. This is the part where just my brain goes haywire, and I should stop talking because I will bore you to death probably. So that's about the size of it. Again, I'll just mention eBird Essentials again if you want to learn more about eBird. And yeah, there's more that I could talk about. eBird is a very vast wealth of knowledge. I hope I have taught you something today that was of use and not just me like spouting 1,000 different things. And I think that's about the size of it. So without further ado, I guess we can go into the Q&A. Thank you very much for listening to my semi-rambling talk. And let's hear what people have to say.
I thought I knew a lot about eBird already, but I already learned a bunch of things that I had no idea. So thank you. That was awesome.
Wait,
so
I'm curious, what was like the top thing that you learned?
It was actually the number, putting the number in front of the code.
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
You could do that.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yes.
So now I do have an Android, so as opposed to an iPhone. So,
but that's the same. That function.
It works. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to try
that.
In
the field.
Do it. Okay. So who has a question for Marie? I mentioned putting it in the chat, but you can go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask it verbally if you'd like.
Doesn't look like anyone has any questions in the chat.
Yeah, nobody has any questions in the chat at this point, but
does anyone have any questions they would like to say? And if you don't have, go ahead.
Well, one thing I didn't see was how to get alerts, rare bird alerts.
Yeah, I'll show you that. Let's go. Okay, so here's how you do rare bird alerts. You go into Explore, and then you scroll down, and here next to target species is alerts. And I have a few alerts. These are the alerts that I've subscribed to. So it sends me emails. It sends me the birds I have not seen in Duval yet daily. And you can also click on it from here and see the species, and you can sort by date or species. I prefer date to see what the most recent things are. Okay, but then how do you subscribe? So that's just viewing the ones you've already subscribed to. Let's say I want to look at rare bird alerts in, do I have Clay County? Let's say Baker County. So I can just subscribe right now, or I can view them if I don't want to. There's nothing in Baker County. It's sad. But if there were something in Baker County, it would send me an email if I did this and did subscribe. And now you can see it says, subscribe to this alert, and voila, Baker County Rare Birds is showing up here on subscribe, because there's nothing in Baker County though. So was that, and you can also do APA rarities, and then so both rare bird alerts and needs alerts are here together. Rare bird alerts are the ones that are not on the filter of expected species, and then needs alerts are the ones that you personally have not seen in that location. You can also do this little check mark for this year only if you want to restrict it to yearly needs alerts. So if you're building your year list, you can do that. Is that helpful? So explore species, scroll down, alerts.
So Deborah Platt is asking, do you put in your list at the end of your birding adventure or as you make your observations?
Okay.
She says she's new to birding and eBird, and that's a good question because I
That's a
kind of
very
go
good
back and
question.
forth between the two myself.
Okay, yeah. So I personally think it's easiest if you're using eBird mobile. So you can submit lists on the website, which I didn't even talk about because most people do use eBird mobile. But if you are using eBird mobile, I would really recommend starting your list when you go out. So you step out of your car, here you are in the field, you're at the location you want to bird, start your list then. And you can either do two things depending on like how your memory is and just how your structure is. You can either add species as you hear them, like when you're walking around, or you at the very end of the list, you can add species at the very end, and you can scroll through the list and like tap the numbers as you see the species to jog your memory. And I personally have done both at different times, depending on how many birds there are. If there's a zillion birds and I can't keep track in the moment, sometimes I'll just add things at the end. But if there's not a ton going on, I personally like to add them as I'm going because my memory sucks, and and it's like the counts will be more accurate if you add as you're going. So I personally would recommend more to add as you go. I definitely recommend starting the checklist when you step out of the car, you're in the field, and then stopping it once you get back to your car or you're ending the checklist. So basically, short answer, I most recommend starting the list at the beginning of your adventure and ending it at the end if you're using eBird mobile. But if you need to, you can also start your list at the very end. You can even make it at home, or you can submit a list through the web page, and that's something that you would do after the fact, unless you were bringing like a desktop computer with you out in the field, which I don't recommend. So I recommend doing it in the field as you go. I think that's the best way, but it does depend on your style.
Marie, can you talk a little bit about the track?
Yes.
The reason why I wanted to mention it is because I know that you can turn that feature, you can turn the GPS feature off on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that
Mm-hmm.
turned off on your phone, then the tracking doesn't work in eBird. Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you can either turn your GPS off from like phone settings.
Right.
You can also turn track off from here. Let me see.
From eBird itself, you can turn
Yes,
the tracking
from
off
eBird
from
itself.
eBird itself, but you can
Yeah,
also,
I think you can see that in this video.
right.
You see, okay, so it's got the time. So above start checklist, it says record track. If you tap this, then it will not record your track in the field.
But I guess the point I was making is if somebody has their GPS tracking turned off in their phone settings, then I believe, and that was what I was asking. I believe that the tracking doesn't work in eBird, even if you want it to. Is that true?
I've not tried that, but yes, it would not work correctly.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions for Marie? This is so fascinating, and I can't tell you how much I enjoy your enthusiasm for it because I love eBird too, and I guess I'm a big nerd or something, but I just think all the information that you can get on the Explore. I mean, I wish I had more time to just mess around in the Explore tab.
It's so fun.
Even so fun.
Even just the managed media, or not managed media. Oh, I never talked about managed media.
There you go.
Do y'all want to learn about managed media really quick?
I'm okay with that. How's everybody else feel?
A little quick demo of managed media.
Little quick demo. Why not?
Okay. All right. Quick. All right. So This is going to happen tonight. I'm going to be lying in bed, be like, I never talked about this thing. Okay, so I'm going to do, going to my profile to find something with, yeah, let's do this. This is fine. So if I go into my checklist, here are my checklists. So I've got some audio in here. I can click on Manage Media in the top right. And now it has sort of a different view. And you can drag and drop photos directly into here. And I've already done it with this audio here. So if I click on this, over here, there's some places where I can input information. So I can write media notes, hello there, this, whatever, anything that I want to write. And I can put in the male, like male and female, how many there were. I can say, oh, I should do this. I don't know if it's technically called song for Rails. I'll have to look into that. Playback. I really recommend adding any additional species that are in your recordings, because that really helps us with Merlin Sound ID. It will help our model a lot if you tell us what we can expect in the recording. And then you can give behaviors down here, and then equipment. And also, if you put in like the recorder, you can apply that to all recordings in the checklist, so you don't have to write it a bunch of different times. So that's just sort of a short demo. I could, let's see, do I have any photos? So like I can drop and drag. This is not a chimney swift, but you know, as you can see, it uploads. I can tap on it. I think this is an immature male. I know people have been saying it's a female, but it has like darker gray coming in on the bib. Foraging, you know, anything else I can add to this. So that's just a quick little, you know, this is how you upload media into eBird. You can also do this on the phone, not through the app, but if you go to the checklist on like a browser in your phone, you can do that from the field. It's not great, and I'm sure that they're coming up with a way to add media more easily through the app. But that's your demo. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, that was fun. Anybody else have a question for Marie? You can either put it in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself. Lee?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I've only been through it one time, and that's reporting a rare species or reporting a species. I reported a Western kingbird that I had gotten like some bird feeder photos. But what are you looking for when you think you've seen something, then you want the world to know it?
Yes, this is a really good question, and I could have gone into this, but there's so much to talk about. So when I'm looking at a bird report and I'm like, what's going on here? What I would love to see, my heart of hearts, I love to see photos or audio. And that's really the most, you know, you just look at it, you're like, yep, that's the species. I don't have to make like weird, like analytical, like what if this other thing, like, no, I can see it. There it is. That's the species. So photos are amazing. And your Western kingbird as a feeder or bird bath?
Yes, it was at a feeder here in Jacksonville Beach.
I was mind blown by that. That is a great example of where photos are beyond any description that you could write. If you didn't have a photo, I would not have believed that, because it's so unusual to see a kingbird at a feeder. That is insanely unusual. Like even in their normal range, that's really uncommon. So that is such a cool behavior that you got a photo of. So it was really cool.
Well, I have to thank my husband for helping me stake it out once I realized we had something unusual, and then and he came back over several days. That's what was so unusual.
I'm so glad that he did. I cannot tell you how mind blown I was by that photo. I still remember that.
Great.
Yeah, the
great.
photo, audio are the two top things. But if you need to write a description, then basically write as much detail as you can. Basically, you want to draw me into the situation as if I were there. So describe what the bird what it looked like. So, you know, plumage features, try to compare it with similar species, and describe its like habitat, like how was it using the habitat, what bushes was it in, and what was it acting like, just as much detail as you can, basically. And I also have to say, especially for like, sort of celebrity birds like the McGillivray's warbler, even just a short description is really, really nice for me. When I see like just continuing, kind of sand. I want you to put in like a little bit of effort of being like, it had a gray hood in IARCs and it was yellow below. Like even that is really helpful to me. So imagine basically when you're writing a report, be like, in 100 years, will somebody be able to read this report and be like, yes, that's that species. You want it to be valuable to 100 years from now. And you don't have to write 5 paragraphs, like, a short paragraph is fine. But you want to draw me in as if I was there and describe every aspect of the bird as much as possible. But photos are great. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Anybody else? Any other questions for Marie? This is awesome. This is such great information. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, do you want me to send the PowerPoint to you so you can distribute it to people who signed up? Because there are some links in there. I don't know if you'll.
Okay, yeah, sure.
want
That'd
those.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool.
Sounds awesome. All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Marie about eBird or Merlin?
I have one for you.
For me?
How-
Okay.
How do we pull? I can click on that region link that you sent us for the bar charts, but is there a way to save it as my locations, or how do I keep it?
Well,
or do I have to
Marie-
continually go to it?
Right. Marie may actually be the better person to answer that question. Marie, I don't know if you saw that I posted a link to that I just created from a search that I did, because I'm always looking at bar charts for Clay, Duval, and Nassau counties, our counties, right? And so I just posted this link in case anybody was interested in it. And honestly, Lee, I have mine saved in a text file on my desktop. So I literally just go to that whenever I want to. But could Lee save this as a bookmark?
You can bookmark
properly.
Yeah, you can bookmark. You can use book. So you're just saying like a link to some bar charts is what you were talking about?
A link to the bar charts for Clay, Duval, and Nassau counties for, the whole year, essentially from 1900 on. It's not limiting anything, but
probably
you could probably bookmark it, Lee.
Yeah.
That might work.
That probably would be the easiest way.
Thanks. I'll give that a try.
Yeah. I just like shortcuts, and that is something I go to constantly for, just trying to see what's expected at different times of year, and when do certain species generally arrive in our area, when do they leave, are they here all year round, are they only here a couple of months out of the year, or whatever. It's just extremely useful. I just love the bar charts. So
they are super useful. So much fun. And
Everything.
So much when you were like traveling and want to see what the best time of year to go to a place is.
Yes, amen to that. Anyone else? This has been so great. Nope. No other questions for Marie? This is your last chance. Come on. Well, all right, everybody. Well, I think if nobody else has another question, we're going to say goodnight. And Marie, thank you so much. This was just so fun and so wonderful.
Thank
helpful.
you. Thank you
Really
so much for having me.
it.
Thank you for your patience with me struggling.
No worries. No, it was all great. It was great. And we will see you again soon. And everybody, thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. Take it easy.
You too.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.